The medicine 3.0 is longevity and prevention as we know it today, but it's most of the time giving generic advice, not going to the root cause of symptoms, for the simple reason that we try to optimize something that is most of the time already not healed. And you cannot optimize, let's say, a gut if it's still inflamed. You will make things worse, for instance. So it's very important in medicine 4.0 to focus on the healing part. And most of the time we neglect this part.
Welcome to Be Well. Today's guest is Eric Laudet. He's founder and CEO of Holistiq Health, a Swiss health tech startup on a mission to make root cause functional medicine accessible at scale. Eric, you've already built ventures before, most prominently Batmate. So at this point, you're a serial entrepreneur. It's your second venture, and welcome to the show. It's really great having you here. We already know each other from before. And maybe before we start talking more about Holistiq and about the preventive care space, I think you have a lot to share here with the audience. Would you like to maybe introduce yourself and share a couple of words about your background and how it brought you to Holistiq?
Thank you, Toby, for inviting me. Yes, I mean, my background is I grew up in Paris and I graduated from a famous business school there. So I have a business background and I focused initially on quantitative finance and commodity trading. I started actually in this field. But after 2 years in commodity trading, I wanted to build up my own startup, which what I did with Batmate. And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur since years, and always wanted to actually bring something to the world that was not existing and with a very powerful impact. And this is what I do now with Holistiq.
Amazing. Eric, one thing I oftentimes observe in the health and wellness space, I'm talking to tons of founders in the health space particularly, is that they oftentimes have this great founder market fit. So people really have something that drives them to build their venture. Is there anything for you, any personal incident that motivated you to actually build Holistiq?
So my parents are doctors, and I've seen the limits of conventional medicine from an early age. I've been attending tons of biohackers conference all around the world, and I've been watching the space very closely. I have an obsession for health and entrepreneurship since my early age. Yeah, I had a lot of admiration and at the same time frustration of not being an entrepreneur when I was a kid, and at the same time this passion to develop myself and optimize my health. Then observing the market, I realized that a lot of things were done to actually solve the rare diseases, or a lot of investments are being made in the field of longevity or prevention, but nothing was really done for the chronic disorders. And so I had the idea since many years to actually focus on this gray area of health, because I told myself there must be a solution between Google or GPT when we're trying to find a solution for own health, a conventional medicine system that is broken, bullshit supplementation, and complementary medicine that sometimes just complementary medicine doesn't work. So traditional medicines. And of course, for me, the solution was to really focus on the chronic health disorders that people are facing. It's a very widespread problem. And no one is really focusing on it. You have now 50% of adults that are actually suffering from a chronic gut disorder. And you have 40% of women in menopause phase that are suffering from their symptoms. It's huge. We're speaking about billions of people here. And for these people, nothing is being done. So Holistiq is precisely focusing on bringing a solution for these unmet needs.
Amazing. Could you maybe, very interesting. You also have some Medium articles where you go even further into your view on all of this. Could you maybe explain a lot more? I think you also introduced this term of medicine 4.0. We all know what medicine 3.0 means. Could you bring us even deeper into your thesis? What is sort of going wrong right now from a macro view, and what do you want to tackle? What problem are you currently observing, let's say, in the health space, but also in the preventative and longevity space that is sort of experiencing a rush of people entering the space?
Exactly. So The medicine 3.0 is longevity and prevention as we know it today, but it's most of the time giving generic advice, not going to the root cause of symptoms, for the simple reason that we try to optimize something that is most of the time already not healed. And you cannot optimize, let's say, a gut if it's still inflamed. You will make things worse, for instance. So it's very important in medicine 4.0 to focus on the healing part. And most of the time we neglect this part. And the only way to make it happen is to apply functional medicine principles. It's very well developed in the US and it's coming to Europe, notably thanks to Holistiq, because we tend to always want to have like this one pill fits all solution. We want to optimize and believe that a supplement or a fancy IV will bring us youth forever, or will actually help us to solve health problem. But in fact, it's more complicated than this. It's all about going to the root of the disorder through a proper analysis of some blood and microbiome testing, and taking into account a lot of personal factors. And this is what we do at Holistiq, in-depth lab tests. And we know a lot about people through an anamnesis questionnaire. It goes into our box. And from there, we can, through our algorithms, we can go to the root cause of the gut health disorder, metabolic disorder, hormonal disorder, especially for women, because it's extremely complex, and provide therapeutics based on this data. So this is what's completely new, because when you go to generic prevention or longevity provider, they will not go into details, and they will most of the time tell you to go to the doctor. And most people are really stuck here. Let's say, maybe I can give you a typical journey of our clients. Someone is diagnosed from IBS after a colonoscopy, for instance. And the doctor says, hey, you have IBS, and so irritable bowel syndrome, you need to see a nutritionist, or you need to go to complementary medicine. Most of the time it doesn't work because it's not data driven or science backed enough. So people don't find a solution there after being diagnosed from IBS, and they still suffer from their gut disorders. So what do? They try to GPT a solution. They will try to find the right supplementation for them. It doesn't work, of course. It makes things worse. For instance, taking probiotics on an inflamed gut can make things worse and create brain fog. It's very common. And so people are then trying to go to these generic prevention or longevity providers, and they are being told to go to the doctor. So the only solution on the market for chronic health challenges, when people are stuck for years or decades of guesswork, is Holistiq through this functional medicine approach.
I mean, what's quite interesting is, I mean, you talk about root cause, and it's a very problem-oriented approach, right? I mean, I think one thing you're criticizing is in the entire longevity, health and wellness space is, I mean, there's tons of things out there that promise you anything, but you have no idea or clue if that's really suitable for your individual use case, right? So it's a lot of guessing, and people are overwhelmed. I mean, you mentioned it, you were a biohacker, I'm not, but obviously I'm interested in what Andrew Huberman has to say, all these kind of figures, and you just get overwhelmed, right, by all the information. I mean, we are already overwhelmed more broadly with the internet nowadays. There's just tons of information, and what I like about your approach is that it's very much problem-oriented, right? So there are certain diseases that are dominant, you're saying, right? What are those, let's say, health patterns that are very prevalent in society nowadays, that are dominant and that people usually suffer with nowadays?
Yeah. I mean, so we really move the needles for people's health, right? And what matters is the following pain points going forward is gut health, because in itself is a root cause for so many disorders, hormonal, metabolic. It has an impact on the mood, on the skin, on the digestion, obviously. So the gut is the main problem going forward. Why? Because we have now the modern lifestyles, and the food industry is either full of chemicals or with poor nutrients. It's not like before. And the pharma and healthcare system is maintaining us, masking the symptoms with pills all the time. And so between the food and pharma industry, we are stuck. And this is new. This is why we have this emerging chronic disorders. So gut is a big part of chronic disorders. And we have as well the perimenopause or menopause clients. So women from as early as 42-year-old, they are actually don't find any solution for their strong symptoms. It can be hot flashes, mood swing, brain fog, weight gain, and a quantity of other symptoms that are really not nice and make their life for 10 years or more impossible, destroying families. So it's really like there is a solution for hormonal balance or gut challenges through a proper, personalized, affordable, and scalable functional medicine approach. And this is what we do. I would say, if you ask me, the other challenges, of course, is metabolic health, with finding, reaching ideal weight and maintaining it. This is as well a root cause for so many causes of death, like neurodegenerative diseases and many other causes of death. So the idea would be to focus on these three pillars. This is what we do. In mental health as well, this is our fourth pillar. We focus on ADHD, which is 7% of the world population. And here we can bring as well powerful therapeutics, not only through the online clinic, but as well through our Holistiq Health Academy.
Great, Eric. Let's do the following. I mean, I think we already started off with the macro view, and I think we already have an understanding where you're coming from or where you came from. Let's talk also about Holistiq, and you alluded to it, how you ended up there, but maybe could you introduce us? How long are you live already? Are you working with other people? Do you have partners, co-founders maybe, who are you working with? And then maybe introduce us into, I mean, you already alluded to it, how the UX experience looks like right now and what problems users or sick people are facing nowadays. But maybe introduce us, how does Holistiq look and feel like for someone who's experiencing it for the first time?
Yes. So Holistiq was built with my three other co-founders. I have two founders that are doctors and one that is a complementary medicine therapist. So we have a mix of science and natural medicine. And we are actually live since a bit more than a year, and we now have a very strong traction. When I say very strong traction, is that we have a growth rates monthly between 20 and 30%. We are now, after 1 year, already generating millions of revenues, and we are profitable on a monthly basis. So we are probably, with these numbers, the fastest growing health tech startup in Europe, if it's not worldwide, because we are, I don't know any other B2C startups, and I know what I'm talking about because I invested in 70 startups, most of them in healthcare and health tech. So this is an insane growth, an insane traction, because we just focus on real problems and real pain points. So how does it start? How does the Holistiq journey start? People start with a free discovery call, and they explain their problem. We check their insurance coverage. And based on this, they are allocated to one doctor and one therapist. And the doctor and the therapist are working hand in hand to find a personalized solution for the clients. Of course, we use digital solutions and proprietary technology to actually help us to coordinate all this and go to the root cause or the root causes very quickly without spending hours per case. But for you as a patient, you have a series of calls, telemedicine consultations. It starts with the therapist, then with the doctor, with a lab test prescription. Then it continues with the therapist. So you do your lab test through a network of lab partners all around the country. And for the microbiome testing, you receive it at home and you send it by post. So it's very easy, and we collect all this data in order to actually help us to go to the root cause of your disorder. So the treatments that we offer based on this data are based on functional medicine principles. So concretely, what are we talking about? We can prescribe some medication to kill the parasites that we have identified in your gut. We know exactly the intolerances that you have, and so we provide very detailed nutrition plan, so we can then rebalance your microbiome, which is already a big part of the work most of the time. And so we provide a mix of then medication and lifestyle or nutrition changes. This is what we do. So we don't say no to using medication. We try to avoid them as much as possible, notably to avoid the side effects. But we are doing medicine. We are doing advanced medicine. So the goal is not to just offer a natural approach unless our clients want it. In this case, there is a discussion. We explain the different approaches between a pure naturopathy approach and a functional medicine approach. But most of the time, we combine both in the interest of the patient in order to increase the efficiency of our therapy.
And to provide a holistic offering at the end of the day.
Exactly. And for us, holistic is really to take both the because everyone has a vision of holistic, so some people have very abstract vision about his body, mind, soul, but for us is really collecting enough data so that we can crunch this data, and from a functional medicine point of view, being able to provide a therapy at the root cause level. Then we have a very complete overview on your health, from your biology through the biomarkers, through an in-depth questionnaire from the beginning, and through the wearables. And from there, we can really provide a very personalized answer that is tailored to you with a high chance of success.
Now, Eric, I mean, there's tons of companies, and especially in the health, wellness space, you hear longevity space, you hear tons of people talking about data. And obviously people are wearing their wearables and people are collecting data more than ever before. How do you actually extract value out of this data, and why is a data-driven approach for you guys so important? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so with patient consent, what we do is we are permanently improving our therapies. And how do we do this? So we run through all the data that we collect, very large and detailed cohort analysis. And so this is to capture real world data. And so in order to actually provide better and faster recovery. So what do we track is we have the patient profile on one side, we have the recovery speed of the patient on the other, and we have, of course, the therapeutics that we do. And based on this, we can really fine tune which therapy for which patient profile and which chronic disorder is supposed to work the best. And so the recovery speed is an important criteria. We want people to get out of and durably from their chronic symptoms as soon as possible. And we want to make this sustainable. And those are our criteria. And it's a very different approach than the siloed mindset of the randomized control trials that are not using real life data, that are seeing the body as very siloed and just focusing on some parts of the body. But here we are here at Holistiq to connect the dots and make sense out of the data, and considering that a person is always in relationship with their environment. And based on this, provide the right lifestyle changes that truly make a difference. So I think the next meaningful frontier in medical research going forward is precisely to explore real life data and link the people with their environment. Something that is not done if we stick to the randomized control trial. It's really it misses the point when it comes to finding a solution to chronic disorders.
Another thing I would like to touch base on very quickly is, I mean, as mentioned, there's tons of companies out there proclaiming sort of quick fixes in the health longevity space. They cost tons of money usually. And topic is, I mean, you just mentioned your growth figures, your revenue figures, you're earning money. And at the end of the day, a company needs to also be sustainable in a sense, right? People need to be willing to pay. And health is always very tricky, right? Because we have insurances. People don't expect to pay for health services intuitively. What's your view on that? And are you guys working with insurances, or is it reimbursable? What's your view on creating products or building companies where consumers are actually willing to pay for the actual offerings and are able to pay for it, right? Because oftentimes it's just very expensive.
So it's all about focusing on real pain points. So longevity centers in Switzerland, they will tell you, you will see when you're 80, you will still be able to hike. No one, Toby, is waking up and telling themselves, oh, when I'm 80, I still want to be able to go hiking or to run. This is not a pain point, There is no willingness to pay for this. You will ask the CEOs of most longevity clinics when it's not hospitality projects, and they will tell you that people come with a problem. So in the end, it's a matter of market size. I think in the last 3 years, people got disillusioned about the willingness to pay of people for longevity and prevention. For me, there is no real market. Of course, you can have some SMEs in this field, but it's not a startup. We're talking about a ridiculously small market here because of this willingness to pay, especially in Europe when we have good insurance coverage. So what do we do at Holistiq? We focus on real problems, as I said, that are like really conducive to people paying out of pocket. And we have a significant percentage of people paying out of pocket. But because it's in the sickness category, we are as well covered by the basic and complementary insurances. So we take the best of both worlds. The people paying out of pocket, they are really happy because we focus on real problems, and the insurances are recognizing our work because we solve real diseases.
No, it's interesting. I mean, especially, I mean, it's very European focused, or it's also addressing your problems that are very prevalent in Europe, right? I mean, we have, strong insurance coverage and all these things. And
so we have these two departments at Holistiq. We have the online clinic that is starting in Switzerland, but slowly scaling abroad and leveraging on insurance coverages or leveraging on the willingness to pay of clients. And the other part is the Holistiq Health Academy, focusing on mental and physical health through group coaching. And this is this educational part that is as well fundamental, that is a bit less personalized, but fundamental for people to enter Holistiq Health. So people typically can start as a group coaching on a specific topic. We started with ADHD worldwide months ago. We'll continue with like gut health, with menopause, and hundreds of other hot topics. And so they start with group coaching, then they can join, do one-to-one, so private coaching with a coach, or to receive as well support from a doctor. And so we have synergies between the educational arm of Holistiq and the online clinic. And so it's really interesting to see how we can raise the collective consciousness on what it means to be healthy at a worldwide level through an educational platform that scales very fast with incredible group unit economics, and an online clinic that can scale and provide medicine at scale. So this is really like the approach that we have at Holistiq. And yes, this is how we do it.
Eric, I mean, one thing I oftentimes observe when talking to founders, especially in health and wellness, is, I mean, you have tons of definitions flying around the space, right? I mean, you have health, wellness, longevity. You calling yourself holistic, and there's actually also holistic health. There's functional medicine, which is part of what you're offering.
This is what we're offering. This is
what you're offering. It is offering.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This is so. It's very interesting that you asked, because what are we? We are a functional health company. This is what we do. It's everything about functional health. Yes, we do mix a natural approach with a more science-backed approach. But in the end, to make it simple and true, we are doing functional health with functional medicine doctors and nutritionists and naturopaths that are here applying functional medicine principles. So we are scaling functional health in an affordable way.
Maybe explain for people who have never heard of functional health what it actually is. Would be interesting to share it with the
That's
audience.
A good question, because it's a new concept. So functional health is all about understanding from a science point of view how the body works. So it requires an in-depth knowledge of the biology, of the physiology of the body, in order to provide an approach that just doesn't focus on the symptom, just target the root causes. And so it's all about being like detectives, and collecting enough data to actually, from a science point of view, know where we should bring our attention, as opposed to a conventional medicine focusing on the symptoms or on the conditions, and that's between the root cause and the symptoms. But with a bit more time and analysis, functional health enables us to go to the root cause and provide sustainable solutions. It's as well the mix of the empirical evidence of naturopathy and the nutritional arts with the science aspects of medicine coming together, because we should not neglect the empirical evidence gathered by all the naturopathic approaches, and we take this on board as well. So this way we take the best of both worlds again, like between a more empirical evidence and science to bring a solution that is effective. Yeah.
How are you actually observing, let's say, developments, global developments? Because I know in the US, functional health is a big topic, right? There's, I think, what's his name, Mark Hyman, or I listened to some of his podcasts previously. And I mean, apparently in the US, functional health is having a moment. What are maybe beyond functional medicines trends or developments are you observing globally in this health space? And how do you compare maybe Europe to other places in the world?
So it's a very good question. So you have a lot of functional health companies that are actually just generic prevention companies. So I cannot name, right? But like in Europe, you have a few that say that they do functional health. In the end, they have no clue about how to solve a gut health problem. It's a bit of it starts to be an overused word. Even in the US, you have many companies that they claim to do functional health, where in fact they have not enough functional medicine knowledge to actually bring the right solutions. And it's most of the time collecting all kind of biomarkers to actually satisfy the curiosity and ego of people, just not bringing a tangible solution for people. So yes, you have all two kinds of players, I would say, to simplify. The ones that are still doing prevention and calling this functional health, and these other ones that are really focusing on healing like us. Yeah. Going forward, if you ask me, in 5 years from now, it will always be about the functional health and less about, or much less about, this generic prevention and longevity. This is the future of medicine.
I mean, it's fascinating to observe what's happening. I mean, you have so many players obviously trying to address this problem or these topics, which is great, right? I mean, it's great that a lot of companies want to engage in preventative care. But simultaneously, it's also very interesting to envision, okay, how is tomorrow's consumer going to live life, and how are you going to build products that actually suitable to the lifestyle of everyday consumers without sort of going beyond their budgets. And I mean, it's very interesting which approach you guys are taking in that regard, right? Makes sense.
As always, to be for any startup, healthcare startup or any other startup, it's all about focusing on real pain points. And so I think we completely neglected this in the B2C healthcare. And we develop things for people that are just not interesting for them, So of course, wellness approaches are working well, and this is fine. This is wellness. But when it comes to a science-backed approach to health, people needs to be focused on real pain points, or it needs to be covered by insurances, and it needs to be covered by insurances. But without a very deep expertise and focus, there is no real market, I would say. That's true, people need to be nudged into investing into their health, starting with their greatest challenges. And this goes through education. And this is why as well we launched this Holistic Health Academy, because this is the way people will understand that, hey, you have this, you're not alone, and it's possible to do something. And it works. So this is really the message here.
Also very interesting. I mean, I'm not asking a question right now, but this educational approach, because at the end of the day, all these things, and I talk to lots of founders, they always tell me and they always remind me it's the basics. Obviously, we all know that it's the basics. Very easy. It doesn't need to be fancy, healthy and longevity and functional health. I mean, or preventing diseases. It doesn't need to be complicated. And education is probably, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about changing people's behavior. I mean, that's essentially what it's all about. And it's maybe education is a good way to contribute to that.
Exactly. I mean, it has to come from the people, right? It has to come from them. We cannot force any change, as we know this very well. So it's about nudging and showing people the way that there is something possible. It goes from generic advice to spark interest to much more personalized ones. But that's true. Without education, we cannot raise the awareness. In the end, it's not about the knowledge that you give to people when you educate people about their health. It's about the awareness. And there's a massive difference between the two. You can know something and not be fully aware of it. This is the thing. So it really depends. That's why we organize this group coaching, so that it's not about delivering a content that people might not receive. It's about creating this aha moment so that they can really implement the changes and that they go all into that direction. So that's it. That's a bit the strategy here.
Eric, let's talk a bit more about growth and scaling for Holistiq. I mean, you already shared a couple of metrics. Congrats to that. What's been your go-to-market strategy so far? You're only live for a short time, actually, relatively speaking. How has your go-to-market been so far? You already shared a couple of words, but maybe share a bit more. And then what are the milestones in the coming months, years? You mentioned it. You're not only an online clinic, but you're also going into the educational space. Maybe share with us the broad go-to-market strategy for you guys at Holistiq.
Yeah. I mean, now after a bit more than 1 year, we have more than 3,000 patients. And to be honest, it was not very complicated to get them. We did a bit of AdWords and Meta ads. And this was enough to be like fully booked, So it's a matter of tech and it's a matter of recruitment, having enough like top qualified functional medicine doctors and therapists to grow with us, and putting in place the whole IT infrastructure and data collection. It's all about organizing the supply and not focusing on the demand much. But going forward, of course, we have massive development plan. Right now, we are just scratching the surface in B2B2C using multipliers like the insurances referring our products. And this can make them save hundreds of millions we're speaking about Switzerland per year. Of all these people stuck in the medical nomadism, sent from one specialist to another or overusing medication, what do the insurance are doing now? The insurance are sending us the patients that cost the most, from a basic insurance point of view, to actually find us finally a solution to their health. It's around 60% of doctors' consultation when we speak about chronic disorders. So we can really save all insurances a lot of money. But we have many other multipliers. Think about all the wellness players, the gym clubs, other startups in the field with nice collabs underway. We have a lot of different multipliers that can help us to grow. And of course, the most important ones being the GPs, the general practitioners, and the specialist doctors. We haven't started to have like partnerships with practices, hospital, and specialists. But when it is the case, then we have a regular flow of patients. So this is for the B2B2C. We have as well, we see a potential future for B2B, and to do what some mental health startups did with huge companies, bringing health to corporates to improve the employees' productivity, reduce the absenteeism, increase the well-being. So that's, we envision an employer pay model where the top employers would actually pay every year a certain number of consultations at Holistiq in order to actually create retention, and more health in the workplace. So B2B is a big part for us. And the most exciting part is next year, we'll launch a supplement marketplace covering both the supplementations and peptides, similar to what health.com did, but as a way to support our existing clients through vetted products and like strong support, expert support. And it's a way for us to actually acquire new clients. So it's a lead acquisition engine. But on top of this, it's supposed to be a business itself to actually curate a certain number of supplements for various cases and offering our holistic support on top. So for us, it makes complete sense to launch this from next year to complete the health ecosystem we are building.
Amazing. And I mean, you guys are based in Switzerland. Not sure if we mentioned that already, but is there the idea to also maybe go beyond Switzerland or Swiss borders and to other places in the world and build Holistiq?
Yes. So we are worldwide with the Holistiq Health Academy. We started with ADHD, but as I said, we have like hundreds of other topics to bring there. It's a .com. It's available worldwide. So we don't think in terms of just Switzerland. This is for the educational arm. For the online clinic, yes. For the moment, after 1 year, we're still in Switzerland, but we have big expansion plans in various countries. We just have to develop the partnerships with the top labs all around, and then we can recreate an ecosystem at the international level of a leading functional health clinic. Fully online, without the need of physical location, we might still extract blood from partners physically, because this is where we can have decent and reliable results. I know it might make some people wince, especially some entrepreneurs in the field, but the technology is not fully ready to extract large, reliable blood panels using at-home testing. So for the moment, we are still sending our patients to local labs, and yeah, it will be probably the case internationally as well, till they show me that they have a very good and cheap technology, so that our patients are not paying too much. Then we can talk. But for the moment, we have to go through enough quantity of blood in order to have proper results.
Eric, I mean, now we talked a lot about Holistiq and about your view on the entire preventative care space and health in general, functional medicine. Thanks for sharing those insights. But you also mentioned earlier, I mean, you always wanted to become an entrepreneur. It's at least what you were saying. And you already built another successful venture. I mean, with Bedmate, it's gotten quite successful. Why are you doing this? Why are you building another company? Why not do something else? I mean, why? What triggers you to build something, and what should people be thinking about before building their own venture, essentially?
Yeah, I would say why not, right? No, but like the real reason is that at the end of the day, you need to really follow your mission, and it's all about doing things that are aligned with your mind and heart and create an impact in the world. So you can really like run a successful business and still feel empty. It's all about the purpose you have. Once you know your purpose, then everything is aligned and everything flows smoothly. And to be honest, even though I work day and night, I don't have the impression that I'm working. Of course, holistically, trust me, I have some sleep, but it's really about aligning your mission with your heart, and it's all about this. So Batmade was a good way to start entrepreneurship, but my life mission was not to digitalize home cleaning. My life mission was to raise the collective consciousness on what it means to be healthy. This is what I'm here for, and bring more health to the world, one person at a time. And so everything flows from there. Once you really aligned your mind, action, and heart, is everything flowing.
How do you find that? Because you were not always there.
Yeah, it's a valid question for you, Toby, right? Yes, it's actually, you kind of know it deep inside. If you really like, what's left when you remove like everything that is necessary. So what is left when you, let's say, you have unlimited cash, so money is not a question. You wake up, what do you do? This is the question. Like, so when I wake up, what do I want to do? I want to be fucking healthy. I want to embody youth, and I want to really just be the healthiest version of myself. This is what the most important asset. This is the most important thing for me. And I felt it from deep inside. And yes, it's about eating very well, a personalized nutrition. It's about sleeping well. It's about doing a lot of sports. It's about community. It's about spirituality. It's about ecstatic experiences. It's about altered state of consciousness. It's about, going out of our comfort zone and growing and learning. It's about all this. So at some point, you really need to feel it from the inside, and this gives you the energy to achieve, and to really destroy any obstacles on the way. Because regardless of the way you peak, it will be extremely difficult anyways. But to be honest, like, building Holistiq is super easy. It's full of obstacles. It's chaos. It's a nightmare, but it's super easy.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you also need to be aware who you are and where you want to be. And I think it's an important element to all of this. So thanks for sharing that. I think we could talk a lot more about this, but for another time. Eric, we're coming to an end. Is anything else you would like to share to the audience about Holistiq, about yourself, or about your mission, feel free to share anything.
Yes, I mean, everyone is welcome at Holistiq. So you're free to book a free discovery call and we can have a review on your health status and see how we can help. So feel free to go on holistiq.com and we can find solutions for your health, see what we can do together.
Great, Eric. All the best on your journey. I hope you keep me posted. And all the best to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Toby, for the invitation. It was a pleasure.